All right. All right. This is Dave Gagnon. This is the growth meeting for our team, which I try to do every Wednesday, 11 o'clock Eastern. And I am recording it today, so it'll be up on YouTube hopefully later today. And so today is focused on what you guys need to help grow your revenue share. And I want to make sure that I can share with you scripts, dialogue, tactics, and strategies to help you grow. So let me open it up first and see what we have for questions or topics that you guys would like to have covered today.
Hey Dave, Aaron here.
Hey, Aaron.
How's it going?
Very well, thank you.
Good, good. I interviewed another growth leader in a different group about 2 weeks ago, and he was saying that their groups had major success doing daily lunch and learn. Um, I wasn't able to dig on that, but I wanted to know whether it was you or someone else in the group that's doing at least a weekly lunch and learn at a real.
Um, yeah, really good question. So, if they're doing daily lunch and learns, and always better to dig down and get the details of what's working for someone. But my assumption would be maybe they're doing one daily in five different locations. I don't see doing one in one location every day being effective for a long period of time. I think you need some gap in there. But if you're in a very populated area, going a half hour north, south, east, and west, and doing one where you are, you most certainly could do one every day. I think the power of doing lunch and learns is, once you have a small cadre of leaders that want to help grow, everyone knows that it's Wednesday at 11 o'clock. We're meeting, at this location, and all during the week as they're, connecting with other agents and brokers through showings and negotiations and closings and going to continuing education training and all the things that bring us connected with other people. It's easy to know that, hey, I'm going to invite this person to come with me next week. I've heard some of the more effective people talk about setting goals around that, and a very doable goal is invite four and pick up one, and that way you're committed that every week you're going to the event, and whether you have one downline working with you in the area or 10 or 20, if you know that you have that core group coming every week and that they're going to average bringing one person, then the law of large numbers start to kick in. Does that make sense, Aaron?
It does, yeah. And he was saying something similar, like that their goal really is just to have five people, and over the past year, they've managed a 50% sign ratio. So they even if you have five, you're getting two or three every single day that you do one.
Right, right. Yeah. Drill down a little bit and see if they're doing it in the same area. And so, things can be, perceptions can be a little bit different depending on where the audience listening to this video is. If I'm in an MLS that has 30,000 people, or if I'm in a very large metropolis doing it every day in the same location, I may never run out of people to come and listen to the presentation. But if I'm in a town where I have 30 agents, doing it every day there doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I agree. I should have led with that. Yeah. So similar to like my area, as you know, we could travel an hour and a half, every direction. You can kind of space it out so you get a little bit of a draw, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I think the things that people can get stuck on, Aaron, is who's the leader. And so I think a lot of people can, listen to growth and have the desire that they, want to have a larger organization. They want to have passive income that is substantial and consistent. but not everyone wants to be the leader, right? So it's like, well, when are you going to come do something for me, and those kind of things. And um, really, the folks I think that you want to pour into is where you can replicate yourself, right? Because there's only so many hours in a day, so many hours in a year that you can put towards something. And if your organization gets to 1,000 people and everyone's counting on you to be the spark plug, then it's going to stall, right? Because you can't continue to have the same impact. But like when I was pouring into you guys and the other folks in the area, I knew through your actions, I knew through your credibility, and the conversations that we had that if I poured into you a little bit, then you guys could run it, right? And you're continuing to grow and those kind of things. So I think if you're looking around an area and there is no leader, it has to be you, and you got to keep being the leader until such time as there's an obvious leader that can run it as good or better than you.
Good stuff. Thanks.
Absolutely. The other thing that I found is the law of large numbers is fairly reliable. And I think for every 50 people that you have in your group, you're going to have a spark plug. And that might happen early. It might be the first person that you attract. Or it may not happen in the first 50, but by the time you get to 100, you have two people, right? So just the law of large numbers. And so, building it early can feel that it's a grind. It can feel hard. It can feel that it's never going to happen. But by being consistent with the actions that you can control, you can grow over time and get help. And when you start getting that help, your world starts to change.
I love that. I'm feeling that way now. It's just this doesn't go as fast as I want it to. What is the metric that you use to define spark plug?
A spark plug for me is someone who's in a local area that there's evidence that people know them, like them, and trust them. And so, for example, when you and I were talking about doing events together, we had several conversations first. It just wasn't, so, yep, I'll spend my money and come to an area and not know if you can deliver or not. Because there was evidence that you are a leader in running a team and doing significant volume and had a good reputation, and that you could get 5 or 6 or 7, I forget what the original numbers were, people to talk to me, to watch the videos, to have conversations. I knew as we started to get you some credible people that you could put 20 people in a room, right? And that I met the caliber of people that you were able to bring together, and that's when I knew that you were a spark plug, right? So we can see evidence, and we can have kind of a blueprint that I think makes sense. And then there's got to be that moment of transition from belief to actions that happen, and that's when you know you have a spark plug. And it looks like Aaron got booted out. So happy to kick
sorry,
over.
you kicked me out. I'm in on Jeff's account now.
Okay, all right, no worries.
Dave, can you stay on that at Lunch and Learn? What actually happens during that? What's the best protocol for that?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of ways to do lunch and learns. So let me talk about those first. So there's a protocol to follow, that I'm going to bring something of value to bring people to the event, and then there's going to be an add-on of eXp Realty. And those can be very successful, or they can be very flat. And I think the topic and what your expectations are play into that a lot. And I'll come back and I'll talk about that in a moment. The second is it's an outright, bold-faced meeting to talk about the future of real estate and what's happening with eXp Realty, right? And so I think those are the two premises. I'm going to give something of value and build some relationship with you and tell you about eXp, or I'm inviting you to come learn about the future of real estate and learn about eXp. And so I want to talk about the pros and cons of both of those, and then we can discuss. So in doing the draw, the educational event, and an eXp presentation, you can probably get more people to come. And so topics can vary widely, right? Some of you are certified or can become certified to do continuing education classes, right? So some people make a living doing CE classes. What are they, 30, $35 for a 3-hour course or something like that around here. And so you might have a course that is approved by the state that has a lot of interest because it's a very cool topic that people want to come to. Or it might be the same kind of topic that other people are doing, but you're charging $5 or $0, right? Because you're not worried about making the number per head. You're more interested in connecting with people and bringing value to build relationships. So you can do CE. You could do something on internet lead generation, and then use your KV core as your example to show people how you would take lead generation into lead conversion, into lead development, into sales and future communication. And then you have as a, by the way, if you want to buy this, it's at kvcore.com or whatever the link is. And it's a wonderful program. It's $900, blah, blah, blah. It's $500 a month. I don't sell it, but if your broker doesn't offer it and you want it, that's how you get it. Of course, if you are interested in working with me at eXp Realty, it's free. If you're interested in that conversation, let's definitely talk, right? And then you could do a follow-up on everyone who attended and say, I'd love to share with you all of the other benefits of eXp Realty, as well as the, using KV Core for free. And that might be your entree into getting into a relationship with them. You could do it on, Gene Frederick does a great job with 101 ways to lead generate, where he goes over a bunch of different ways to generate leads. And he does a very good job with that. He's very entertaining, he's engaging, and that allows him to build credibility with people, right? So there's a lot of different topics that you can do. The transition into what is eXp all about, or the eXp explained presentation, or the future of real estate, whatever you want to call it, when you have a educational event and then the presentation of the company, that part to me is always the tricky part, right? Because if you just jump into it too quick, people might look at it as a bait and switch, and they'll never come to anything else that you're doing. And I think folks that have had the most success do the educational event to get everyone into the location. And there's a second event, which is sponsored by eXp Realty and ABC Mortgage and XYZ Title. And it is the future of real estate, and it includes lunch, right? So come for the education, stay for lunch, and while you're eating your awesome sandwich, we're going to do a short presentation as to what the 4 pillars are and why so many agents are making the move to eXp. So I'm going to pause there and talk about the lunch and learn with an educational element, and just make sure I answer all of your questions. No questions?
So when you're
Dave, yeah. I have a question about getting a curriculum, basically. If you don't have something to teach already, what are some ways to develop that?
Well, you either need to be the talent or you need to provide the talent, right? So I don't know in your area, but around here you have lenders who will bring in a CE person and they'll do it for free because the lender wants to build a relationship with all the agents. If you could find that kind of relationship and have the lender, bring in the speaker, and you have the title company doing lunch, and you're the benefactor. Well, that's great. But you either need to provide the material personally or to bring in the talent. And so you may have you might be doing a event on lead paint, like here in New Hampshire. The lead paint rules are changing. They're implementing testing at 1 year old for 100% of the kids. They're expecting 80% of the children to actually get testing for lead, and if it is coming from a rental property from someone else owns the property, then the state is willing to shut down the operations of that building until it's remediated or encapsulated. And so that might be information that not everyone has. And I just learned about it yesterday at a overview conversation. And so now it's like if I can pull the talent together around those conversations, I could do that kind of event throughout the state, right? So maybe the first time I bring in a pro and get permission to use material, and then do it, another 6 or 7 times and move it all around the state. And so that might be, a way for me to bring additional value to it. Another, thing for me, I just turned on my KV Core, doing it as a team account with my son Nathaniel, and we funded it, for the lead generation. And once we get that loaded in the first month and have the dashboard loaded and all those things, I will go out and do a lunch and learn around the area on internet lead generation and details on how to use KV Core. And so agents who want to learn about it are going to come. Agents who maybe have KV Core and don't know how to use it at a high level may come, and and then we'll sponsor a lunch on top of that. So if I were back in the day when I was selling, I really focused on for sale by owners and expireds, and I was very good at that entire process. In my last year in sales, I did 54 listings, and so a little bit better than one a week. And I most certainly could do a seminar on working for sale by owners, right? Because that was something that I was good at. And so if you're an agent and you're really good at something, or you went and you learned about something that's really interesting and you've applied it in your local business, and you have proof that it's working, then that can be a topic too. So have expertise and share it, or bring in expertise and find a way to make it work.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
This is Gretchen in Orlando.
Hey, Gretchen.
I have a kind of an odd question for you. In so often, everybody speaks about technology and KV Core, KV Core, KV Core. Is there anywhere that you can go get tutoring on how to really understand KV Core? Because I've been going to the classes and I'll be honest, I'm confused. I'm trying to learn it and I don't know how to promote something that I don't understand.
Yeah, you really can't promote something that you don't understand. So it's good for you to have pause there, Gretchen. Jeff Richmond and Lexi Sanchez are certified trainers of KV Core. And I know they have that in one of their coaching bundles or something like that. And they're in our group. Feel free to reach out to them. And then KV Core has a series of training videos that are right in your KV Core dashboard, and they're very, step by step. How do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? And I have my son Nathan, who's also my business partner for the Gagnon group, going through all of that, and he is going to be my master lead converter, and I believe he can go from 0 to 60 on that in 30 days between what's available for training and actually getting in and using it.
Okay, I'm just trying to get there quicker, and going the other route seemed to be taking me forever, and I wanted it done yesterday. I'm one of those. So thank you for that information.
Yeah, well, so anything we want to get good at can be obtained. It will only take one of two currencies. One is money, the other is time. And so if you don't want to spend the money on coaching, or if you can't spend the money on coaching or setup, and then it's a matter of time, right, to go through and learn it all yourself and to get it working and those kind of things. If you had infinite resources and there was someone who had mastered that and was cranking on it, I'm sure there could be an agreement on money where they could not only get you all set up and flowing and functioning, but give you some concentrated one-on-one time.
Okay, because I'm not looking to understand how to use it for personal use. I want to use it so that I can sell it, basically, as part of traction.
Yeah, so there's plenty of sales material from inside real estate for selling KV Core, right? Because that's their job. They're trying to sell KV Core, and so you can learn it from the sales angle position. And this is all the wonderful and cool stuff that it does. And what we've decided to do is to learn to master it. So when we bring someone on board, we can coach them to learn how to use it at a more productive level. So not only are we attracting someone, we're building a relationship and we're building loyalty.
Makes sense. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great questions. Thank you, Gretchen. Any other questions around doing a lunch and learn with a topic? Okay, I'm going to move on then. Doing a lunch and learn, which is a straight up business opportunity presentation. So I started doing the first one, and then I shifted. And the reason why I shifted is I wanted to shift my audience. And so the first 2, 3, 4 or so that I did, I had the opportunity to meet many of the people that were coming to the session. So I was doing 100 ways to lead generate or internet lead generation. And so when I was meeting people, I would ask them their name, I would ask them how long had they been in real estate, and I asked them how is the year going, right? And they would give me an answer, and then I drill down a little bit. And so what I found mostly is that people that were coming to those sessions were a short time in the business, and they weren't doing the number of sales that they needed to do to stay in the business long term. And granted, in every group there was the exception to the rule, but that was the lion's share of the people showing up. And so when I was doing my after action breakdown, right? What's my time worth? Who am I in front of? What was the feedback? What's the expectation of closing? And if I'm going to invest a couple $1,000s to come do one of these, what is that going to return to my business, right? Because I'm not doing the events to make income from the events. I'm doing the events to create a business unit that will create income, right? So I'm not looking to get paid as a speaker. I'm looking to create a business that will pay me. And so after doing those first few, I made the decision that the people that I was in front of, for the most part, were not going to be spark plugs. They were not going to be the people who could carry the message forward next week. And so I don't want that to seem harsh, right? Because we all start somewhere, and then we can become great leaders when we gain more skill and knowledge. And so someone who is not influential today could be very influential in a year or 10 years. But looking to grow rapidly, I wanted to be in front of as many people who could start growth leadership day one. And that's where I came up with the concept of what I called my Rock the Comma Tour. And so 1,000 has a comma in it, and I started the push to get to 1,000 people in my revenue share group. And we were somewhere around 500 at the time. Today, we're at 1,227. And so, now my new goal is 2,000 by the end of the year. And if we do that, which I feel will be a real good push for us, I think it'll be 5,000 by the end of next year, right? And so in order for that to happen, I need to find more leaders, and the fastest way to do that is through leveraging the 1,227 people in the organization, right? And so if you got 1,200 people trying to get leaders in front of you, you can talk to an awful lot of leaders versus you're the only one in your group because you're the one starting it, right? And so to have the fastest impact, if I'm talking to someone who is the only person in their own revenue share group, if I can get them an impact leader for their first person, their business is going to run much faster, right? They have a partner, they have a spark plug. And so I wanted to improve our opportunity of being in front of spark plugs. And so the Rock the Comma Tour, I took away the pretense of doing additional education. And the session was about the future of real estate. And I've always had two points that I wanted to make in every video that I've done and every presentation that I've had. And those 2 points are, why would top agents from around North America be coming to EXP? And it's the 4 pillars, right? And then if you're a business leader, how do you leverage the 4 pillars to build your company within the company? And so if this is going to be what I call a BOP, B-O-P, business opportunity presentation, then the people that I want to be in the room are business-minded people. Now, a business-minded person, I'm going to pick on Aaron Browning for a minute. Aaron is a rock star. Aaron is a spark plug. I love having conversations with him. He has the right mindset. He's got a fantastic work ethic. He's got great people around him, right? I did not know Aaron when he was his first year in the business. But I'm going to guess being around Aaron would be the same 5 years ago as it was today. The only thing that would be different would be his productivity in the business, right? And so when I say get in front of business leaders, I'm not putting a production requirement on that. I'm not putting the fact that they have run an office or they have done recruiting or anything like that. I think there are leaders in all industry, and I think there are leaders in all walks of life. And so our job is to identify whether someone's a leader or a follower. And the people that I want in front of me or in front of you is leaders. Now, if your area is all built out, right? If you got, like in my board, we have about 800 agents. 20% would be 160. If we were at 160, we'd be pretty well built out, right? I would guess that we had already presented to everybody at least once. We've talked to everyone at least twice. And those who are coming are here. There might be others who are coming later. And now, we're just in maintenance mode and getting a little bit of growth. But getting from 10 people to 160 people, there's a huge growth opportunity, right? And so when we have this huge growth opportunity in your local area, and what I mean by that is, in your area of operation where you're showing houses, and then, take a number north, south, east, and west, whether you're comfortable with a half-hour drive or an hour and a half drive, whatever, what is your circle of impact? And then we want to be able to talk to people who are leaders, not necessarily followers, in order to get these core groups started. And so now the conversation is different. First of all, no mass emailings, no robo-dialers, none of those kind of things, because we want leaders. And if you don't know why someone would be a leader, you shouldn't be calling them. And so you might have someone on your team who is doing some work in LinkedIn to, you say, well, I want to talk to Sally Koss. Well, what has Sally done in her life? Well, she's been a franchise owner. She's been an educator. She's been a mentor. She's done significant volume. She's done luxury sales. Well, that's a leader to me. If I wasn't in business with Sally and Steve today, I could identify that they were people that I want to be in business with tomorrow. And so if I was going to go do a Rock the Comma Tour event in South Boston, I could call Steve and Sally and say, I'm doing an event in your area in 3 weeks, and I'd love for you to be part of that. And I'm going to be talking about the future of real estate, and I think that you would find it very impactful. Can I count on you to come? Right? Now, they may be curious, they may be more engaged, and maybe I can attract them to the company before the event, and now they're still coming, but now they're going to bring 4 or 5 people, or they own a company and they're going to bring their 20 agents to take a look at it, or whatever that is, right? But now I know I have a spark plug in South Boston. And so if we're inviting leaders, right, it's going to be a smaller group. And you can let them know, I'm not inviting everyone. I'm inviting people like you that I think are good leaders. And so if they come into a room and they see, a ragtag band of misfits in there, they're going to feel that it's just a big recruiting event. They look around the room and there's 10 or 20 or 25 people, and they recognize, 5 or 6 of them as top producers. They recognize one as a business owner, whatever, and there's good communication and all of that stuff. I think it's much more powerful. And so Rock the Comma for me was to build my group to 1,000. But as soon as I got into, I'm going to say, Maryland, Virginia, DC, when I hit that first high intensity pocket, because I was doing small group here, small group here, those kind of things. And when I hit that little pocket, I think I did 7 events in 3 days or something like that. It was really crazy. And Aaron put on a couple of those. Theo put on a couple of those. Scott put on a couple. Chris and Karen were hosting. And so there were maybe 5 or 6 leaders that were pulling everything together, early nucleus, right, early spark plugs. And I did a series, and there were smaller groups. And then a month later, when I was done my vacationing, I came back through, and the groups were like double or triple the size, right? And now that whole region has a lot of great stuff going on, and I don't have to be there doing all the stuff because, quite frankly, all those leaders are better than me, right? And so when I met those leaders and the people they were bringing in, I realized, thinking about rocking the comma to make the Gagnon group 1,000 people was such small-minded thinking that my vision could be restrictive for my business partners. And my vision shifted very quickly on that leg of the tour. And the Rock the Comma tour became, I want to come to Maryland to build this group to 1,000 people. I want to, meet with Aaron's group and be in North Virginia and get that to 1,000 people. I want to be down by I don't even know the town that I was in, down by Dulles Airport with Christina Macro and Susan Cook, and get that area going with 1,000 people, right? So now Rock the Comma is about building a business unit with my business partners. And that vision is large enough for everyone to succeed at a very expansive level if they choose to. And so I think that was a very key turning point in visioning for business and your business partners, right? It's not about you, it's about what are you going to help create with your business partners. And I think that needs to be part of it. And the thing I'm excited about, a lot of folks are very conservative with, what they want to share and where they are and those things. So I won't mention any names, but one of my business partners yesterday let me know that they just hit 100 people in their group. And I know where their revenue share checks are now hitting. We've been business partners for 2 years, right? And it was maybe 9 months or a year of trying to get an initial conversation. So maybe 3 years working on a relationship, a year to open the door, and then being in business with someone 2 years. And so when you have people of that caliber and you see the caliber of people that they have in their organization, they already have spark plugs in their organization. It's easy to envision that business unit being 1,000 in the next 18 to 24 months, because that's how quick it went for me. At the end of 2016, I was at 119 people, right? So 119 people. And now we are 18 months after that, we're 1,200 people. And so when I look at a business unit that's at about 100, I know that if they do what I did, they'll get what I got. And in 18 months, every single business that I have that's at 100 or around 100 should be well over 1,000, as long as they don't take the eye off the prize. And so I think there's great power in that. And so when you're building your initial core group, right, I think the initial vision is to get 10 that show up every week, 10 that will return your phone calls, 10 that will challenge you, 10 that will hold you accountable, 10 that want to be held accountable, 10 that you can rally with, that you can scrimmage on attraction, that you can support each other when you're talking with someone to help get people over the threshold. When you get 10 players that'll show up and play the game, and they'll work on themselves to be better, that becomes transformative. Because if you can build 10, you can show them how to do the same thing. Now you're at 100. And if you can have 10 of your business partners build to 100, you're at 1,000. And so I think it's very simple looking in small nucleus groups, and it's manageable. And so if you don't have 10 business partners that can show up, on a weekly basis, then see who you have that you can re-recruit to that mindset. And if not, just know that you need to go get 10 today. Does that make sense?
Hey Dave, can you repeat that one more time about the 10 of like what you would do with them weekly, what that looks like? I heard. I need to hear that one more time.
Could you ask that again?
This is John Sellers.
Hey, John. Would you mind just rephrasing that for me?
Yeah, so I was just listening, and then I was like, okay, so you're looking to get 10, and then the idea is, do you try and hook up with them, meet with them weekly? Is it strategize with them? What was kind of that process one more time?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, so staying on that topic of let's grow it together, right? And so if I had, a core group of 10 people here, and I said, you know what, Wednesdays are wealth building Wednesdays, and at 11 o'clock, we're going to all get together. I'm going to do the presentation. Everyone bring one person, right? If I got 10 people who will show up to that every week and bring someone, I can grow here,
Okay.
right? And so, you guys are there, where? Southern Oregon, right?
Yeah.
And you guys got a pretty good kicking group there, right? So I would guess that you guys can, have a core group of 10 people every week that say, you know what, we're going to show up every Wednesday. And every Wednesday, we're going to commit to everyone else in this core group of 10 that we are bringing one viable business partner every single week. Sometimes we'll have two. And if I miss one, I got a week, no one's coming. I'm still coming, and I'm going to have a great attitude. I'm going to, listen more so I can share better. And next week, I'll definitely bring one, right? So if you got, 10 people committed to that, they're showing up every week. That's a good core group. Maybe you average a half a person every week, and so you're bringing 5, which means you're probably closing 2 or 3. Right?
Okay.
And then you get that going and it's working like a machine. And now you can say, well, I'm going to go focus, 30 minutes away from here to the east. And Chris, you go west, and Jake, you go north. And and if you're going to go expand into a new area, you just have got to be high intensity until you get those 10 business partners who will show up every week and get that rhythm going and have someone, of credibility that you can put in front of the room that is going to be able to present well and know most of the answers, so they don't get lampooned, in the Q&A section.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're doing it further away, it does take more effort, right? So like I have 2 great leaders, in a pocket, and they've gotten a couple of people, and now they know the systems, they know their way around, all that, and so I've booked a trip, and I'm going down with a commitment that they're going to put 25 business-minded people in a room. And if they do that, I know out of that 25, we're going to get 5 to 10. Add that to what they have, and then they should be able to start replicating that on a weekly basis. And if they do that, they will get that group to 100. If they get that group to 100, then they're going to get to 1,000, right? So it's finding the right people, nurturing into them, but they have got to be willing to follow the model and work it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Great questions. Anyone else?
I have another question on a different topic.
Sure.
So we're looking to attract a husband and wife team. Can you kind of walk through the process of that? Just the onboarding. Is it double sets of fees? Is it not double sets of fees? Just it's our first one that we've done that where they're just going to be one person. I mean, one forgoing icon. So.
Yeah. Really good question. So the first thing I want to say to that is let's make sure that we are bringing on husband and wife or domestic partner teams as a domestic team every time, right? If we're attracting someone out of the KW model or out of an exit model, sometimes they've been taught this concept of stacking. Stacking doesn't work here, okay? If you run out the model of I take one, you take one, I take one, you take one, and it always looks good where you're thinking, well, I get paid more on level 2 than I do level 1. Trust me, the organization will grow faster in depth than you can build 2 lines 40 wide, and most people will lose more money in not unlocking the depth than they could possibly make by doing some early stacking. And so what I tell everyone, come over and just go wide until you're 60 to 80 wide at level 1. Don't think about doubling down and stacking. I've had a lot of people that I've coached on this over the years who did not listen to my coaching, and then once their organization started cranking, they were like, "Oh, I should have listened to you," right? So that's number one. Number two, husband and wife or domestic marriages, and in states where domestic marriages are not allowed, or same-sex marriages, domestic partnership can get approved. You need to do it through agent services. And so they share a single cap. They share one revenue share position, and any stock awards get issued to a single person. They need to define who that person is. The expectation is if ever they are not married, they got to treat it just like dispersing any other asset. But now they're paying a single cap. They're paying a single tech fee unless they want more tech. Right? So if someone wants more tech, like if they each want their own KV Core site, they would have to pay for another site. If they both wanted their own email, they would have to pay, there's an upcharge for a second email per year, those kind of things. But you can share an email and then do the forward routing, all the smart routing, and have it go to 2 different emails so they can deal with whatever they want to deal with. There's plenty of ways to use the technology, so there's no additional charges.
So let's take it through the process. Getting ready to do an application. Do they both do an application together, or do they do separate ones?
Do
they do separate ICAs? Do they have more than one application fee, the 149?
Good questions. Yep. So they both do an application because we need to move over both licenses.
Okay.
They would both name the same person as the sponsor. So let's say you're the sponsor. They would both name you. In the notes, they would both put the phraseology that would say, I am joining as a husband and wife team with Shelly Smith. And then Shelly would say, I am joining as a husband and wife team with John Smith. Right? So whoever's getting them, can connect the dots, and all of that stuff. I believe they both pay the 149 association fee, but I'm not 100% sure on that. We'd have to ask agent services.
And then the ongoing fees monthly, do you know about that, Dave, or should I ask agent services?
On the monthly fees, they share one set of fees, right? Because they're going to have one SkySlope account. They're going to have one KV Core account. They're going to share an email address, all of those kind of things. So there's one set of monthly fees, and that would be the 50 plus the 35.
And is there one ICA, or do they each sign an ICA?
They each are independent contractor. They can funnel all of the money to one of the people, right? So the husband or wife, doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah. So
okay.
I think that covers the entire process.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Absolutely. And then, I know I've said this 100 times, but when you are bringing someone on board, take the extra step and do a letter of introduction. And so, we do this either email or text or Voxer. I like Voxer a lot. And so, we have Tiffany coming on board. We do an email of introduction to Tiffany and the state broker. We're telling the state broker why we think Tiffany is so wonderful, how long she's been in the business and how many deals she's done, and what she thinks of EXP and the fact that she's been in the world. And we've introduced her to the agent services person who's handling our state and all of those kind of things. and we're telling Tiffany how engaged the state broker is. And we're going to connect them on Voxer. So if they have any additional questions, feel free to do that. And if they're close by, I'm happy to bring them together for a lunch or a coffee or something like that, right? And so I'm doing everything that I can to make everyone connected, everyone sticky. And I want to have that relationship that if anything is going sideways on either side, that one or the other or both of them are going to tell me, because I want to try to keep it together, right? So I know, everyone's busy. I know we're growing at such a crazy rate. I know that we have so many people trying to get in that I want to give our business partners as much of a chance of having a smooth transition as possible. The other thing that I'll say is, check with the state where you're bringing someone in, check with the SAB as to what is the average amount of time for someone onboarding in their area. And in some areas, it's like 2 weeks. And I know our tech team is working at developing the technology to more systematize items. And I have faith that all that's going to happen. But what I care about is how long is it taking today? And so for one person that we're bringing on board right now, we know in that location, it's about 2 weeks. So in knowing that and knowing where we are now, we're targeting an August 1st start date, which gives us enough time to get all the state paperwork done, to get acclimation done, to do some one-on-one training on KV Core and get them all excited about the awesome tool they're going to get, and all of those things. And then it'll be like, okay, this is the day you're resigning. And on that day, I want to make sure we have a coaching call. This is what your old broker is going to say to try to keep you. How do you feel about that? And just go through all of those scenarios so there's no chance of them getting unrecruited. You know what I mean? It takes too much to get them here. And we don't want someone stealing their opportunity from them, right? So we need to help prep them. So that's what we try to do. And obviously if you're, bringing, 10, 12 people a month, maybe you can't do that for everyone. But I think most people are like, me, it's 1 or 2 people a month. Just stay steady with it. And, just know that part of our responsibility as their business partner is to help them through the onboarding process and check in with them every day. Keep feeding them positive stuff, all that good stuff. Make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yep. Steve had asked if mother and daughter can be a domestic partnership. And the answer is no. They can be a team, right? So one of them would be the lead with a full cap. The other one would be a team member with a half cap. And they could do business that way if they chose. All right, guys, believe it or not, we've come back around to almost the top of the hour. So I'm just going to ask if there's, one last question, and then we're just going to wrap it up. I'm going to try to get this posted. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming in. I hope you found value. Thank you for coming in and asking great questions. That's what makes this go well. And I'll post it up on YouTube for the folks that couldn't make it in today. Let's have a great summer. Keep it growing. Bye-bye.
Thank you.